Jarveon Howard. I don't know if I enunciated his name properly, but he's from Alcorn State, which is an HCBU, and he played running back. Just for the audience to get a quick idea on him, I think over the last 2 years in total, he had over like 2,000 rushing yards, 19 total touchdowns over the past 2 years, and also 5 yards per carry. But RC, I'm also seeing that this guy racked up 26 receptions. That's about as much research as I did on Howard. Tell me why I should or shouldn't be excited about him going into 2024.
And there's going to be a little bit more backstory to this one as well. But how he washed up on my scouting shores is the month of April is the time when all of the pro days for the D2 and FCFs guys starts to come in, and we can upload it into our database and run analytics and metrics and try to see what prospects with their on-field performances from their career and their pro day times pro day times get our computer model's attention. And then any of them that have a pulse, I will go through and watch some tape on to try to see if there's something there I need to study deeper, or do I just need to let the computer give its grade and just move on. And I'm trying to find the next hidden gems. So I've been going through a ton of pro day work and tape work and data work on FCS and D2 guys the last couple of weeks. And I hadn't really been able to find a running back that just jumped out at me. Last year, it was Emmanuel Wilson out of Grand Valley State, and we see how that turned. I mean, that's a guy that it was way off the radar, went undrafted, signed with, I think he signed with Denver first, and like Denver cut him in a couple days, and then Green Bay grabbed him. And long story short, he was almost a starter. He was about to start for the Packers a couple weeks into the season, and then he got hurt right when he was on the brink of becoming a starter, and he looked great. He looked fantastic in the preseason.
He had two touchdowns, right? He had 2 long touchdowns.
I think the first time he touched the ball, he had an 80-yard touchdown run, and then the next time he touched the ball, he almost took another 80-yard touchdown. I think he went like 30 or 40 yards. It was an amazing debut for him out of the HBCU ranks. And Wilson just jumped out at me early. He was my guy last year. There's always somebody that's that guy. 2 years prior, it was Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers. That's not a D2 FCS, but that was a guy nobody gave a rip about, even though he'd had a nice combine. He was barely acknowledged as a top anything running back prospect. He was just a name on a list because he went to the combine. And we made a killing on that in Dynasty rookie drafts before he ended up tearing up training camp and preseason, and then everybody was starting to get interested. But before all of that, he was a ghost. And when we came out and said this guy is as good as Breece Hall, in our scouting, we were laughed off the stage, but they're not laughing anymore at that one. But all that to say, this year has been really weird at the running back position. I haven't been able to find kind of that guy. We did a report on John Giles, wide receiver out of West Florida, that looks like he's going to be that guy at wide receiver to get excited about from the lower ranks. But of all the lower tier colleges prospects at running back that I've watched, probably over 150 to 200 by now, giving him a shot to impress, Howard is the one that stands out every time I think about it. Like, okay, of the list of all of these guys, and looking at their grading in our scouting system, like who would be that guy at running back? So for me right now, the one that's standing out is Howard. I'm not as high on it as I was Emmanuel. I'm totally in love with Emmanuel Wilson last year, and still am, even though I hate that he's buried on the Packers. But Howard looks like he's going to be that guy for this year. And how he caught my attention was his numbers graded when we got his pro day. He had a HBCU combine, then he had a pro day. We had all that data plus his output, and it rung up nicely. 219-pound running back that benched 28 reps.
Whoa.
And ran in the 4.5s. I'm like, okay, let me make sure it was 4.5s.
That's great for his size, right?
Yeah. I mean, 28 bench reps puts you at the top of the class of running backs for bench press. So he's 5'10", 219, so he's just a ball of muscle. On paper, he's a ball of muscle. But sometimes I'll go look at tape and go, who the heck is this guy? And I'll be like, how did he benched 28 reps? It just doesn't look like it. Jarveon Howard looks like he benches 28 reps, and then he may have stopped just not to embarrass anybody by how much he could bench. I mean, that guy is ripped and total muscle. So when I put on the tape, it just so happened to be it was a game, his fourth game at Alcorn State in 2022. It was his fourth game, and he ran for 295 yards and 4 touchdowns against, I can't remember who it was, but he was just, not only was he physical, you could just see the size, but he was outrunning. He got a hole and he was gone. And they tried, the back seven tried to descend on him when he made it through the first level, and he would just slice right up the gut of them, and he was gone. They didn't even lay a finger on him. I was surprised the speed he was showing at his muscular size. Granted, I know it's D2 level, but still, this is what you want to see. You want to see somebody who's just bigger and badder and better than everybody else.
Just stands out, right?
Yeah, I mean, just the eyeball test made me stop. Just like with John Giles, the D2 wide receiver, was one of the first times I looked at lower school wide receivers, and it made me pay attention after dozens of just kind of being put to sleep with the same old. Howard was in that range as well. It's like, man, look at the power look at the build on this guy, and he's outrunning defenses. So he got my attention in the data, but then he really got my attention on tape, because the tape was kind of backing up his pro day and combine work. But his little bit of backstory, because I'm like, how's this guy wind up? Why is he at Alcorn State? Why isn't he, at a D1 level? He was at a D1 level. He started out at Syracuse. He was, for 2 years, 2018, 2019, he was kind of the power running back in their multi-use committee backfield. Obviously, you would want to make somebody like him the power, the heavy, and he took, like 5 carries a game, 60 carries for the season, but he had 7 touchdowns as a freshman, because he was hey, we're close to the goal line. Let's give it to this guy that can mow everybody over. So, promising freshman year, then similar touches the second year, a little bit more, but not as touchdown productive. It was a down year versus what he did as a freshman, still in kind of the committee pigeonholed in a certain role. So his first 2 seasons at Syracuse were something. He was expected to be kind of their lead, their breakout star in 2020. And then you know what happened in 2020. What happens to a lot of these guys, unfortunately. The COVID year, and he opted not to play. So when he opted not to play, that allowed a guy by the name of Sean Tucker to take over at Syracuse, and he became a star. So when 2021 came along and Howard, returned to the team, Sean Tucker was the man, and the power role wasn't even really available for Howard anymore. He played a couple games in 2021, got a handful of touches, and then he decided he was transferring out. So he transfers in after a couple games in 2021. He's then going to play for Alcorn State in 2022. He instantly leads the Southwest Athletic Conference in rushing. He's up for their, I think he was up for the Harlan Hill, the D2 Heisman. He was I think he finished second or third for Offensive Player of the Year behind, at the time, Deion Sanders was there and Jackson State was there ruling the conference, and Shador won Offensive Player of the Year with Howard missing out on it. So, but it was a great year. It was a breakout year, 1,000+ yards, double-digit touchdowns, some big record-setting game. One of the biggest rushing games, rushing tallies in a game in HBCU history, if I remember correctly. So it was all good after 2022. So he's on all the watch lists. He's on everything for 2023. And then I can't tell you why. I wish I could, but there's just not enough information and not enough time to suss it out. He got off to a really slow start. No more. He was having 100-yard games, 200-yard games, multiple touchdowns in 2022. Then he comes out in 2023 and he can barely crack 50 yards rushing in a game. So for the first half of the season, then all of a sudden the second half of the season he turned it on. I don't know if he had an injury. I don't know what caused a down 2023, but after 2022, he was set sail for. He was getting a ton of attention as being the best running back down at maybe at the D2 level. He kind of lost that momentum in 2023, but as you were saying, he started to show receiving skills. He hadn't had a chance to be used in the passing game, so he obviously worked on himself in the passing game, and they featured him a little bit more. I think getting him ready to be a showcase for the pros because he has pro talent. So he at least showed another side to his game as a receiver. So, but it was a down year, no rushing title, but better receiving activity. He's invited to the HBCU All-Star game where he's a standout there, and he gained attention from that, but not a ton. It's the news, the mainstream, everything is very quiet on him. I think because he had a down 23. If he would have entered the draft after his 2022 season, people would probably be more excited. But then he had a down 2023. So, being lower levels and have a down 23, plus he's going to be 25 years old this year. He's a 6-year player from the COVID lost year and everything else. So he's got a big hole to climb out of to get to the NFL. I don't think he's going to be drafted. He's definitely going to be an undrafted free agent. But his build and his style of running, he would be wise to sign with a team that wants that kind of offense. Like if the Raiders sign him, if the Lions were to sign him, perhaps any head coach that respects and wants that bully run game should take a look at him. If he's as an undrafted free agent, he'll have the right to sign, with whatever he wants. He could take the highest deal and it be not a great place to go to. His agent's certainly going to want him to sign with wherever the highest money is, and I'm sure he would like the highest money available. But if I put my fantasy and dynasty hat on and try to look at him, I would want him to. I'm hoping when we track him in the undrafted free agent period, I am really hoping he signs in a place that respects his style. Like if Mike Vrabel was still coach of Tennessee, this would probably be a guy he'd go after. So there's hope here, but it is way off the radar, and I'm on the fence with what I've seen. I see flashes, but that down 2023's got me scratching my head. There's something here, but I think we're going to need to see it in action in the NFL to get more excited about it.
So, RC, tell me where his comp today, and also tell me his ceiling as well. Like, If everything just goes great, he's in the perfect system, he gets the opportunities, how good could he be, and where do you see him today?
That is a great question. Let me look up my scouting report to give you the comps that we had on him, and that may tell you kind of the vision. Are my scouting information plus all of his pro day information, which he had decent pro day, like the 28 bench reps is definitely a differentiator for him in this class. 4.53 speed at his size with that bench press is pretty nice. 3 cone was wobbly at 7.25, but that's doable for the style of runner he's going to be. You're not expecting him to take pitch outs and go east-west. You want him just driving it up the middle. So comp names for him that I had are not exciting per se. Mike James, if you remember him from Miami of Florida, played for Tampa Bay. He had a big bench press. He was not a highly regarded. I think he might have been a sixth. I'm going off total memory. I think he was a 6th-round draft pick. But he was not like top of his class type of guy. Went to Tampa Bay and kind of meandered around. Then a bunch of injuries hit. I think it was with Tampa Bay. He might have moved on to Seattle at the time. But one of Tampa Bay or Seattle, injuries happened and forced him into playing. And all of a sudden he was great. I mean, he took off when he got the opportunity. But then he got hurt, or when the starters came back, they just stuffed him back in a hole and forgot about him. So I think Mike James could have had a better career, but at least he had some kind of career. He hung around the NFL for a couple of years, and when he got an opportunity, he was good. Mike Bell, who was a prospect out of Arizona, 2006, he would be most notorious for, I think he had a 10-touchdown season for the Saints back when Sean Payton had the rotation of Darren Sproles, Pierre Thomas, and I think Mike Bell. And he would just rotate them for specialty purposes, and Bell became the short yardage hammer touchdown guy, and I think he had double-digit touchdowns one season. Then he was never – I don't think he did anything else from there. He kind of hung around the league for a little bit, but never did anything more special. And Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is another – is a more notorious name that has a comp to him that Howard has a better profile than. But those are the type of guys that our computer scouting models are comping him with. So guys who had NFL chops and did some things, but never really got the opportunity. So, and with a D2 guy, they're going to have to land right, get lucky with some injuries above them to get more of a chance. But the build that he has is different. He stands out because his build is different. It's one of the best builds, best package of a power runner on paper that you'll find from this draft.
And he's working on his pass catching too, which is interesting. Maybe he's not going to go east to west like you're saying, but like the fact that he can catch a screen or something like that might be a nice little wrinkle that he can throw into his game. But we were talking about how like his landing spot's going to matter. Obviously, you want to see him on tape, but for right now, if we're doing dynasty rookie drafts, is he even draftable? Is he on your radar, or do you need more information?
He's on my list of guys to consider as a dynasty rookie draft starts getting deeper and deeper. If you're in a typical like 5-round is what I usually see for dynasty rookie drafts, he's not. I got other guys above him like John Giles from West Florida, wide receiver. I got the Louis Zamet from Kansas City. That's not technically not going to end the draft, but he is a rookie already signed by Kansas City. He's somebody I might have higher in my 5th and 6th round of a dynasty rookie draft. But Howard's on the list, is on a watch list the further that I go in a rookie draft, and it's on that watch list to see where is he going to land as an undrafted free agent. Is it a hot spot? Is how much talent is in front of him. if he lands on the Giants, let's say, and let's say the Giants don't do anything else at running back, and they're going to go with Devin Singletary and
Dante Miller.
Dante Miller, who we also will be on that list that we did a video report on as well. And I'd be more interested in Dante Miller over Howard for a different reason. Howard is definitely the better power runner, but Miller has great speed and an incredible story.
He's also strong too. Didn't he throw up 28 bench press?
Yeah, he's another guy, but he did his at, I think was 190. Was he 190 pounds?
He's definitely smaller than Howard.
Yeah, 30 pounds less, and did the same bench press. I mean, it's insane for Dante Miller to go from Ivy League to the twisted story. You have to watch our video on Dante Miller just for the story of it, of how he evaded, how he didn't even know he was eligible for the draft a year ago. That's how he ended up signing with the Giants this year. Like, everybody was trying to, after his South Carolina Pro Day, everybody was so excited. They're like, we want to find out more about this guy so we might draft him or whatever. And then they find out, oh, wait, we can't draft him because he was draft eligible the year prior. The story of how that happened is insane. So I would say that would be a good one to check out. But Miller would be with Howard as guys I'm definitely interested in. But the wide receiver class of lower tier school prospects is just better than what I see of the running back so far this year.
Fair enough.
On the list, but not at the top of the list. But when we see him in the preseason, that could all change.
Got to tune in to check that out once the preseason rolls by. But if you want more information on Howard or other prospects that you have in mind, check out RC's site, ffmetrics.com. Also, if you want to see our video on someone like Dante Miller, we have a couple scouting profiles up already. Go check those out too if you're interested in that.
And with all of these guys that we're doing profiles on, kind of the off the grid prospects that we see some real upside potential in, when the preseason hits, I scout all of those games. I watch all of the tape of every preseason game to look at all of these prospects that I've been studying before the draft and after the draft, all these D2 guys, and we get to actually see them in the preseason. I get to see them, and I can see, have they added muscle? Are they just faster than they seemed? Are they timid? Are they, what is it about them? I scout the preseason like it's an extra year of college for them. So a guy like Howard, you may not take him in your normal Dynasty rookie draft, but then he's just going to be a free, waiver wire player out there because nobody's going to draft him. But tune in for us for the preseason, because I go through every game, every play, and report out on guys just like Howard to give updates of, see, I told you so, or this isn't looking so good. So next update on these guys will be in August.